system doesn't allow for any of those arrangements. When I suggested that members, take your seat, member from Westmoreland Eastern. Members, the first sitting had persons turning on their mics and turning them off like a musical chair. We worked out as a parliament, along with the clerks, a mechanism that we thought would be very efficient. However, persons have raised objections to holding their hand up. If hands are held up and we do not turn on the mic until you're recognized, then it makes it easier if you turn your mic off by accident to be able to speak next. However, you currently have 4 mics on. So if you turn off your mic, then we will have to turn off everyone's mic to go back to that order. Or we just continue. So, member from Portland Eastern, you would now be at the back of the line. I didn't touch your mic other than to turn it on. Member from Westmoreland East, your questions, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a few questions. At the outset, nothing that I say is politically motivated. I guess when a politician is saying something, people naturally think it's political because it's coming from a politician.
Member, just straight to the question.
Madam Speaker, please. I have a mother that is in St. Anne. I don't have one in here.
Member,
right?
question, please.
Don't do that.
Straight to the question, member.
I am simply trying to set the context of what I am saying by saying that nothing that I have to say here is politically motivated. It's a simple point.
No, but there's not a reason why I feel we need to say because
my first question, because I think we have to learn from what we do. My first question. In the preparation for the hurricane, when the initial allocation was made of $200 million, we were told that some of us constituencies were not included in that allocation of $200 million. We raised concerns because the system was bigger than the country, several times bigger, and clearly would have affected every parish. Looking at what happened, where Westmoreland was told that we're not a priority, and landfall was made in eastern Westmoreland, do we think that we have the appropriate mechanism in place to make the allocations for impending weather events like this?
Good question. Good question. Good question.
My second question. In the lead up again to the hurricane, we were told that the supplies would not get to the shelters until the system started and persons started going to the centers. Do you think that was the appropriate decision, seeing that we were preparing for a Category 5 hurricane, and naturally it would have caused disruption in access to get to the shelters? I could have made my points easier, but since you want to put them as questions, I just put them as questions. Do we have an idea, an accurate count of the number of deaths that have occurred in Jamaica. Because based on my count from my own constituency, in the Darliston division, there are 12. In the Leamington division, 4. Betheltown division, 2. And 7 in the White House division, which is giving me 25. So do we have an accurate count as to the number of deaths that have taken place in the country? Do we believe that the response to retrieve the bodies was appropriate? Because we've had funeral homes that had to come for some, and the community members had to bury others in eastern Westmoreland. So do we believe that the response has been adequate to pick up the bodies? In terms of the response of ministries, departments, and agencies, how do we go about making an assessment on how we deploy personnel from ministries, departments, and agencies to constituencies that are affected? Eastern Westmoreland is where landfall was made, a Category 5 hurricane, the eye of it, so that carries the eye wall, went across the constituency, starting in New Hope to Darliston to Betheltown, and then over into South St. James. Total devastation and destruction along the entire constituency. Do we believe that enough personnel from ministries, departments, and agencies have been mobilized for a constituency like this, which is in fact the actual ground zero of the hurricane? My next question: do we think that the condition that obtains in the shelters currently is adequate? The Maud MacLeod shelter in Darliston, the persons there are sleeping on the desk that are within the shelter. Not one mattress is at the facility. Females are there that are having their monthly cycles without any form of supplies being given to that center. 3-month-old baby in the center. Do we think that sufficient work is being done in the centers, in the shelters that currently obtain? There are over, by my estimation, at least 2,000 homes that are flat, not damaged. They are totally destroyed. The foundation is all that you see. Do we think enough is being done to provide shelter, food, and water for those persons who have been displaced? I'm encouraged, Prime Minister, by some of what you have said. I'm encouraged by some of what you have said. Not being unreasonable, I'm encouraged by some of what you have said. The establishment of the points by the JDF is something that is long overdue, so that we can have access points across the constituency where you can airlift supplies to and then distribute from there, and that we can get medical personnel in place. The hurricane itself and the destruction that it has caused is a high-stress environment. To be hypertensive, have high blood pressure, and be out of your medication in a high-stress environment is a recipe for disaster. It's a ticking time bomb. So those persons that are within Eastern Westmoreland that needs medical care, the centers have to be set up urgently in a way that the army can mobilize persons to the different communities so they can attend to persons. There are at least 3 communities that are still marooned. And at Grand Gala, we see soldiers rappelling from the helicopters. It can't be just practice. Now is the real thing. Beeston Spring, which have Beeston Spring, the 3 areas that are maroon, Beeston Spring, and a community called Touch Valley. And there's another section there called Left Hall. And then you have Amity, up in close to the border with South St. James. PM, my own assessment, and I'm not a specialist in this, but my own assessment, looking at the damage to the housing stock, is that I believe that the only thing that I see that can quickly deal with it is the containerized housing solutions that come anywhere between 3,000 to 4,000 US landed
Member,
and erected.
Member, do you have any more questions?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do.
Okay, please,
yes,
member.
I do. Yes, I do.
Please, member, questions.
What is the possibility of us, as a country, putting a program together that will see us being able, and I'm sure the other members from Westmoreland will speak for themselves, but and surrounding areas, because Northwest St. Elizabeth is in the same category, you know. So it's not a political point that I am making, because the damage there is just as bad. What is the possibility of us being able to implement a program quickly where we can get some of those units erected, so at least we can get that mother from under the tarpaulin with her children? That is the current situation in Belmont and Bluefields and elsewhere across the constituency. We also need, if you want me to ask it as a question, when will we be able to have some repair done to the gas station facilities, so that when somebody says to me they are coming from Kingston, I don't have to ask them to bring me low sulfur so that I can drive? When will we have some facility in place that persons can get access to fuel, so that they can, even the elected officials, that they can actually go to the communities? Madam Speaker, I have nothing but concern for the people that I represent. I don't care who they voted for. Not my concern at this time. I'm talking about the people and how they are currently living. Anybody who doubts what I am saying, take a trip for yourself. And if it doesn't cause you to have tears, then you are not human. Anybody that doubts what I'm saying, take a trip for yourself. If you think that I am just here grandstanding, take a trip for yourself and have a look at the situation. It is a total and complete disaster in eastern Westmoreland, and this is a cry for help.